Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are having a good weekend. Let's see. I'm going to kind of stall a little bit just so that people can kind of stream in or, trickle in. It usually is what happens, especially since it is the Memorial Day weekend. I figure it's probably going to be a little quiet today. I see in the chat, Shanna V says, hey, hello. How are you, Shanna? Shanna. Like I said, I hope you guys are having a really good weekend and celebrating with family members and getting together with friends, just having a good holiday weekend. I'm glad that it's a long weekend. I don't know what you guys are doing either this weekend or perhaps tomorrow. But it's very, very nice out today in Los Angeles. It's absolutely beautiful, at least where I'm at anyways. The weather has been very odd around here. It's been very, very cold and then warm and then cold and then warm throughout each day. It's been a little weird. But today it's like I just went out to get some coffee and it was like 67, but with not much of a breeze and it's sunny out, so it was very feels very nice. So yeah, welcome you guys to the How to Stand Out as a Makeup Artist workshop. I am your host, Amber Talrico. Hello, it's nice to see you guys. And this is actually the third time I'm doing this workshop. So if you guys, I know Shanna actually has been to a bunch of the workshops, so I don't know if you've been to this one yet, but this is the third time I'm doing it. And I really enjoy this one because I feel like, there are a lot of us in this industry, and I think that is something that people are very intimidated by, that they feel like it's a very competitive industry, which it is. But sometimes we kind of get lost in the mix of the thought that there's just so many of us, and it really discourages us. And I've even seen people leave the industry because of that mentality of just hyper focusing on the fact that there are a lot of us. So this particular topic is something I really like to talk about. So hence me doing this for a third time now. And I'm actually going off a couple notes so that, the past few times that I've done it, I kind of take notes from the questions and things like that. So, and going back to the feeling of there's just so many of us, it can be a really daunting feeling, and I created this because over the span of my 10 years in this industry, I have followed very, very closely very successful makeup artists throughout that tenure, whether that was working with them, following them on their, social medias, or interviewing them through my documentary, whatever it might be, or just creating relationships. I've taken a lot of notes mentally and through notebooks and stuff like that on what they did to stand out, what they are doing, or what they do to stand out. So, and I've also taken notes on personal experiences of what I've done in the past to try to stand out myself, what has worked for me and what has not worked for me, because there's definitely been times where things have worked against me because I either just didn't go about it the proper way, things like that, which I'll get into later. And, like I had just mentioned, I've interviewed several people for my documentary, essentially how to become a successful makeup artist and stay successful. And within those interviews, I got to really analyze and take note of what they do to stand out. So, I've seen a lot of people come and go in my career, from people that I've graduated with, whether that was cosmetology school or makeup school. And so I've taken a lot of notes. So that's kind of the reason why I created this free workshop for you guys. I see in the chat, perhaps, oops, hold on, I just accidentally X'd out of it. What just happened? I have no idea what just happened. I'll get back to that in a second. But anyways, so welcome if you have not been a part of any of these workshops. It's a really fun time. Roughly for this particular workshop, it runs maybe about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on if I'm stalling. If you guys have questions throughout the time, that can cause some time delays. But this is actually one of the shorter ones that I've done. Like I said, unless you guys have a lot of questions along the way. Oh, yay, Keely, welcome. I woke up just in time, she says. Oh, good. I'm glad that you are awake and that you're able to make it. How exciting. And then Shanna says, perhaps I'd like to stay refreshed and take advantage of the free workshop. That's good. We all, need to take advantage of any type of, continuing education. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And so anyways, thank you for joining us. If you are new to the community, below I want you guys to, if you're on a desktop, what you're gonna see is on the right-hand side, the chat. So definitely take advantage of the chat box. If you're on a mobile device or like an iPad, you will see that the chat is actually below. And on a phone, it actually shows this like bar with a little chat, like a chat bubble, if you will, that you just click on, and that's how you access the chat. So you can kind of go between watching the video and kind of looking at the chat box that way. So definitely take advantage of the chat. Say hello, tell me where you're from, ask any questions along the way, all that good stuff. And there's also, if you scroll down, a lot of information on how you can kind of get more involved with our community if you aren't already. So there's a link on how you can purchase the film, which I'll go over later on. And we have a new makeup challenge, and there's a bunch of information on that, or information on how you can get all the details for that. And then also how you can join our Facebook community, which is growing each and every day, which is really exciting. Subscribing to our YouTube channel, also getting on our email list. So obviously, if you're on this, you're most likely a part of our email list anyways. So you guys are already ahead of the game anyways. Okay, so and just so you guys know, my goals for this platform is to create a platform that essentially offers education and motivation in one area. So for instance, something like this. I'm essentially educating you, but really motivating you guys to do certain things that can really enhance your careers as makeup artists. I do other workshops, free workshops about how to make more money, how to get more gigs, how to, how to get more money during the holiday season. There's been a lot, and there'll be more to come. So, and we also are working on some more videos that we're going to be releasing here on YouTube, because we're going to be starting more into that, which is really exciting. All right. Okay. So some housekeeping, just so you guys know. I already talked about the chat box, so definitely take advantage of that chat box. Ask questions, talk with each other, make new friends, all that good stuff. Like I said, it's probably going to take about an hour to an hour and a half. So, depending on where you're watching this, you can either watch, if you're watching it at home on a desktop, that's all good and well. But if you're driving, obviously just kind of listen in and don't try to use the chat while you're driving. I always have some sort of water and coffee around during this time, because it's a very, I'm talking a lot, but I want you guys to also stay hydrated as well. Bring snacks around, all that awesome stuff. And just so you guys know, the replay is going to be available for only 10 days. So if for any reason you have to leave, or for any reason you came in this late, you can watch the replay for approximately 10 days after today. And just a warning, you guys that have watched these workshops previously, I do have a cat. Her name is Kitty, and she's actually here with me right now on the side. You might have just seen her ear pop in. She loves to be around me. I can't help it. If I lock her in a door, she freaks out. So she might kind of try to say hello. All right, don't be too alarmed. She's being okay right now. She might fall asleep. Hopefully she'll fall asleep right here, but sometimes she kind of peeks in. So don't be alarmed. It's just a cat. And let's see, other sounds you guys might hear. You might hear some pipe sounds because the walls in pretty much all of Southern California are incredibly thin. So the pipes, if anybody adjacent to our apartment uses water, you will hear that through the wall. So it's awesome. The great part about living in Southern California. Alrighty, so that's pretty much it. We're gonna have pretty much, I'll try to answer any questions as I go along, but if I don't answer your question right away, I'm gonna actually designate time for a Q&A session after everything is said and done, all right? So usually I get to most people's questions throughout the time though. And today it'll probably be a little bit more quiet just because it's the holiday weekend. So I'm assuming a lot of people are gonna be watching this as the replay. Alrighty, so if you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get started officially. For those of you that don't know me, personally, my name is Amber. I am the director and creator of What It Takes, and I'm actually, this is my 10th year now of being a professionally working makeup artist, well, and hairstylist as well. I mean, I could count the 3 or 4 years prior to that I was like, doing everybody's hair and makeup or whatever in high school, but I don't really count that. I'm actually from Indiana, and I made the move from Indiana all the way across the country to Los Angeles back in 2012 with only $500. So I made a very, very big step in my life to pursue my dream of being a makeup artist in film and fashion. And pretty much there's been obviously a ton of ups and downs, which if you haven't seen the documentary What It Takes yet, you will see that very apparent in that film of what I've gone through, to a very small degree, of course, because there's been way more things, crazy things that have happened in my career that were never shown in that film. But, things from not being able to pay my bills to not being paid for a job for like 11 months. It's crazy. And a lot of other things that have happened throughout my journey. But having that said, I've also done some really amazing things that, I am incredibly honored to say that I've been a part of. So I've worked a lot with Disney. I've done commercials for, Nissan, and I do a lot with Pop Chips and Tapatio, or is it Tapatia? I always get that mixed up. And I do a lot of ad campaign work, so I've worked with Lululemon. I've worked on Carrie Herda's team for American Horror Story. So I've been able to be a part of some really big things. And then on the fashion side, I've done some print work here and there, editorial work, and I've done fashion shows here and there for like LA Fashion Week. Did a fashion show for guests. So I have a lot of experience here and there, but where I do a lot of my work, it's in the ads, ad campaign and commercial side. I do a lot of special effects, but that's not necessarily like my bread and butter. My bread and butter, like what I do, like at least 70% of the time is commercial work and ad campaigns. And I love it. I'm so passionate about it. Special effects is really awesome. I love it. But I don't know. I just have a very deep passion for the fashion world. I have a deep passion for the fashion world. Didn't mean for that to happen. And so yeah, that's a little bit about me. And at this point in my life, like I said, I am in the process of creating a platform where I am able to put education and motivation all in one area. And that's actually something that I am immensely passionate about, is motivating other artists to not only, pursue their dreams, but understand and give the tools to know what it takes to get there. Because here's the thing. There's a lot of things that we can do, a lot of things that we can read to, motivate ourselves, but that doesn't always it's not something that we do every single day. We all have bad days. I have bad days. There's definitely several bad days that I had last month. So, you know, while I'm here being extremely like motivational and inspirational, that doesn't mean like I don't have bad days. So I feel like that is something that is kind of, I haven't come across a lot of platforms that really do that solely, where they're just constantly motivating. I mean, obviously there's a lot of motivation in this industry, but also bringing the like a strong sense of mindset into the mix. So moving on to the actual start of the workshop. So I'm sure that a lot of people, like I said, are trickling in. Hello, welcome. So there's 5 ways that I'm going to go over of how you can stand out, plus 3 bonuses that are just kind of like fun bonuses that I've included for you guys, okay? Whoops, sorry, kitty. That was the cat. Okay, so number 1 way to stand out is your personality and your style. So this is something that is very, one of the first things that I've noticed in taking note of the people that stand out. So personality and style, I'm going to go over style first because this is obviously visually a lot easier to connect. Okay, so think of people like Lois Burwell. Lois Burwell has a very distinct hairstyle, and she wears really, really cute glasses. And she kind of has this, I don't even know how to explain like what her fashion style is, but it's a very specific look for her. You can always, you always know that it's Lois Burwell from like a mile away. So Lois Burwell has a very distinct style. Alex Box, very distinct style. She has, I don't know if it's still this way today, but she, you know, has the whole white, you know, kind of really, really bleached blonde on one side, and then the black for her hair, of course, on the other, and very red, like she always has like a red lip. If you guys know who Carly Herbert is a makeup artist in the Union, and she has like super, super bright pink hair. So it's like you can never miss Carly. She has very bright pink hair, and that kind of has created a way for her to stand out. And I don't know if that was like something on purpose, but it definitely has created a look for her as an artist. Joe Harlow has a very specific style, specifically more when he's like going to events or you know, speaking engagements, or like he does this usually when he goes to like conventions and stuff like that, where he has like a t-shirt of some sort, and it's usually like a movie t-shirt of some sort with a track jacket and then like jeans. So it's like casual meets kind of dressy, like dressy casual. And then he always has like a bunch of rings. And 1 or 2 of those rings are actually from Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's like kind of that more grungy, you know, look with like a skull. And so that to me is like very specific to Joel. So I know that like there's a ton of other people that I could go over as well that have a very specific style, but those are just some examples to give you guys ideas on, you know, what you can do with your own style. For me, something that I kind of adopted is ever since I was, I think at least in middle school, I was always wearing hats. Actually, I take that back. I remember being in like 3rd grade and always wearing a hat on the bus, and then the minute I'd get to school, I'd have to take it off because I was at a public school and we couldn't wear hats. So I've always worn hats like pretty much ever since the 3rd grade. And I remember my aunt was always like, you just are always wearing hats. It's so cute. It's so you. And so like I've always worn hats. I'm a big hat. I love hats. And so that was something that I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to be the hat girl, I guess. And usually I wear glasses. Now, I don't wear glasses on these things just because of the reflections. Like now you guys are seeing me look at myself, which is really weird. So, you know, that is something that usually, well, not usually, I have to wear glasses because I can't see. So kind of the whole hat and the glasses. Right now I have red rimmed glasses, but usually I have like these really dark black bigger rim glasses, but I broke them, so I have to go get new ones. So you guys kind of get the gist. I have a very natural way of doing my makeup. That's just a personal preference, and I'm actually allergic to foundation, so I can't really wear that much makeup anyways. Sometimes I'll put like a bold lipstick on. I'm just giving you guys examples of like, you know, how I've created my own look. So for you guys, you know, if you love to do really crazy colors with your hair, if you have certain glasses that you like to wear and everybody kind of associates you with those glasses, or a specific lip color that you always wear, or specific makeup style. I know Danica Bedrosian, if you guys know who she is, she has a very specific makeup look that she wears almost every single time that she does anything. And it's very kind of pinup girl. She has a very pinup style makeup look that she always wears. Very, very thick cat eyeliner that's like a perfect eyeliner with these really bold, crisp red lips. So kind of define your style and stick with it, because here's the thing: when you stick with your style, it defines you, and it creates people to remember you by something. Like, for instance, Amber always wears those hats. So if somebody doesn't remember my name, they can be like, oh yeah, that makeup artist that wears the hats. Do you see what I'm saying? So it creates, or like for Carly Herbert, oh yeah, the makeup artist with the pink hair. Oh yeah, of course, that's Carly. I'm short, so that's kind of something that we don't have control over necessarily, but it's like the short makeup artist that wears hats. Things like that. So now I mentioned personality. Personality, I want to emphasize that you should embrace your true personality. If you're shy, don't be ashamed of being shy, because here's the thing. If you're a shy person, I've heard people in the past on like guest speaking events that if you're shy, you're going to have a hard time in this industry. And I don't believe that. I don't agree with that, because here's the thing. A lot of actors and actresses appreciate people that are shy because they don't feel intimidated by them. They don't feel like they have to compete with them, if you will. Sometimes if you have too big of a personality, that actually works against you. So the best way to go about it is to kind of be a chameleon, but that doesn't necessarily mean that if you're not a chameleon, you're not going to make it, or you're not going to stand out. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is embrace who you are, embrace your personality, and just run with it. Because if you're really outgoing, let that be. Don't be super like conservative just because, because here's the thing: at the end of the day, you are going to surround yourself with the people that you want to be surrounding yourself with, and they're going to want to be surrounded by you as well. So if you are shy and people want to be around shy people, or people want to have somebody like that with them, you're always going to be surrounded by people of like minds, if that makes sense. So same thing if you have more of an outgoing personality. People gravitate to that for a specific reason. So you're going to always surround yourself with those types of people that appreciate that. And you don't want to surround yourself with people that don't appreciate who you are. So if you are outgoing and you, you feel like you have to be like shy or something like that, and they keep booking you because you've kind of shifted your personality, it's not going to be fun. You're going to feel like you have to act like you're somebody else that you're not, right? Okay, so and here, another thing too, how do I explain? I don't know how to put it into words, but if you have trouble at all with like, oh, well, I don't really know what people remember me by, or I don't really know what type of personality I have, or I don't really know if I have something that is a specific either personality type or style type, the best way to find this out is just ask your friends. Ask your friends, what do I do, or what do I, is there any type of style or personality trait that sticks out to you about me? And you'll get a lot of people that say different things. A lot of people will say the same things though. And take those and kind of be like, okay. And then, you know, obviously it takes time to really formulate that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's a very good way to start off with kind of really defining and crafting exactly your style and who you are and who, like, how you will be remembered by that. And like I said, you'll start attracting clients that you want to be around, and also they want to be around you. And that's like the most beautiful, like marriage of, you know, with you and having a client base that you really love and they really love you. I can't even speak to how amazing it feels to have a client base of my own that I always am being booked with, and I love being with them. It's never a guessing game, and I love how they work and they love how me work. They love how I work. So definitely that was my first way of standing out, and what I've gathered from other people and how they stand out. All right, so I'm gonna try to see if there are any questions or comments or anything like that. What is this? But I'll just go ahead and move on to number 2 because my phone is doing something weird. Number 2 is knowledge of the industry. And there's a lot of different facets within this category. So the knowledge of the industry, the first and foremost that I want to hit is the history. Now, there's even a couple little like areas of this particular subject as well, the history. So first things first, you have to know the history of makeup itself. So knowing the looks of the 60s, knowing the looks of the 50s, 40s, and all the way back to even like Egyptian times, even Roman times, all of that. Actually, a really good book for reference is Lisa Eldridge, which you can't see right now, but Lisa Eldridge created a book, I believe, I don't know, I completely forget what it's called, but I have it like on a pedestal up here. And it has really great information about period makeup and like what they did, why they did it, what they used. I mean, it's really, really interesting. So I would check that book out if I were you. But with knowing the looks of the history of makeup, no matter what industry you're in, if you're in film or if you're in fashion, it works either industry, because if you're a part of a film or a film, commercial, TV series, whatever it is, chances are at some point you are going to come across a meeting where they're like, we want this to be a period piece, or we need a flashback or whatever, and it needs to be a periodic makeup or hairstyle. And you need to know your times and decades, and even within those decades, there's like a span between 3 and 5 years that even in those short amount of years, the trends changed slightly. So being very observant, just observe that and take note of that and remember it. And even with fashion too, because a lot of photographers, especially the really, really good ones, they will reference decades. So it might be this high fashion makeup and hair shoot, but they want a, 60s or 50s or 40s or whatever style of eyeliner or eyeshadow or lipstick or something like that. And you have to know what they're talking about. And to be honest, I mean, even the history of like who is in each decade. So if you know who Lucille Ball is, would you be able, or if you like somebody said, we want it to look like Lucille Ball. Well, would you know who that was? Audrey Hepburn. Most likely you know who Audrey Hepburn is, but you get what I'm saying. Know your people and know your examples of the different decades. Even with men, like, I don't know. I can't think of any off of the top of my head, but like if people give you references of just Ricky Ricardo, we want his hair to be like Ricky Ricardo. So you have to know these things, and it doesn't stop at like you just loving makeup. It goes way beyond that. And when you know the history, you know the people in it, you're going to stand out. And I've been a part of meetings where I didn't know some people that they were referencing, and I didn't get the job because of that. So like I said, I'm sharing with you guys things that have worked for me and have not worked for me. Not knowing certain decades or people in the decades or certain makeups, and it can work against you. So know your stuff with history. Now, another thing within the subject of history of makeup, know your people, know your artists, know your photographers, know your directors. If you don't know these people, you're not going to go very far. This is something that unfortunately does not happen very often. I can't even count how many times I've come across, makeup artists, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt that, yeah, there's a lot of knowledge to understand, and yes, the YouTube and Instagram industry is booming, so yeah, that makes sense. It's more relevant. People are looking at that a little bit more closely. I completely understand that. However, if you are going to go into film and fashion, you should know those people that are in that industry professionally, working on the jobs that you want to work on. So if you really want to, pursue YouTube, that's fine. Know those people in the YouTube industry. But if you want to work on American Horror Story, if you want to work on Stranger Things, if you want to work on In Vogue, if you want to work on runway for Gucci, you have to know the people that are doing those things already. So know the people that are in your industry. I've done countless hours of research on the people in my industry. Whenever I hear a name that I don't know, I always look them up, and I try to make myself memorize that person and what they did and connect it so that I will never forget that person, so that when they come up in a conversation again, I'm going to know who they're talking about. I've been a part of a conversation one time where every single person that this individual was saying, that they were mentioning, I knew who they were, and they were like, every single person I just mentioned? And I was like, yeah, like they did this, they did that, and so on. And they're like, wow, that doesn't happen very often. And that person I'm still in contact with today, and I've gotten jobs from. So knowing the people in your industry will 100% make you stand out when you are amongst other professional makeup artists, I promise you. I see some stuff's going on in the chat, so I'm just going to take a break really quick. Something about the sound. Okay, so do you have a different browser you could try it in? So yeah, Shanna, I'm wondering, depending on what browser you're using, Chrome is going to be the best one that will work the best. That's just in my experience. If anybody, so I know Keely, you said that you have good sound. If anybody else can comment in the chat to tell me if the sound is working, please do so. That would help a lot. I hope that it is working. But I mean, Keely, if you say that your sound is working okay, then it should be fine. Okay. All right. So going back to this particular number with how to stand out. So I went over history. So history of just makeup in general, the looks of each decade, and well, pretty much each decade. And also the history of the actual actresses and the actual actresses, models in that in the history of that, and the people in our industry. So makeup artists, photographers, and directors. I was just talking about makeup artists, but even when you know photographers as well and directors, that's going to help you as well. I was just a part of a photo shoot where there was a photographer and his photographer assistant, and they were talking, photos and photography and like their little, way of talking in that little world. And they mentioned a photographer, and I was like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He did really, really awesome stuff in the 90s with all the like grunge bands. And they're like, oh my God, you know who that is? And so they continue to contact me for work, and they thought that was really cool that I, that I knew who these people were that they were talking about. So definitely, the more you know, the more you grow. That whole saying, as cheesy as it is, 100% will work for you. All right, so another thing as far as knowledge of the industry is resources. Resources, there's a ton of types of resources that you can utilize. First things first, my personal favorite, books. I am a book fiend. Kenneth can tell you this. Every time we go to Barnes & Noble, it's a very, very, very hard task for me not to buy a book. I love Barnes & Noble. And I actually also have Audible, which is Amazon's like their audiobook, their app. So I'm on their like subscription list or whatever. So every single month I get one free Audible book. And so I've used that to my benefit, where every single month I'm listening to a new book. And usually it's something in the form of like a self-help or like industry-based or entrepreneurial-based. So it gives a lot of, like, I'm always being fed information on how to grow as an entrepreneur, which I suggest every single one of you guys that are watching this should do. But anyways, more for specifically the makeup industry, there are a ton of books as resources. There is a book by Todd Debertini, who is the author of a book for special effects. Hey, Kenneth, what's that book called?
Special Makeup Effects.
It's just called Special Makeup Effects. So it's this, it almost is like a textbook form where it's a very big book, very heavy, and it has just all this information on how to create special effects, from casting, molding, sculpting, all of this stuff, and making like out of kit things. There's interviews and excerpts on different makeup artists, specifically in the special effects world. So like Joe Harlow's in it, Steve Johnson's in it. So not only are you learning about the craft, but you're learning about the people that are doing these things, which is, you know, invaluable. So that's a really great book as far as special effects goes. I mentioned a book from Lisa Eldridge. She's like my queen, and she is in the fashion world. Her book, that particular book, I want to call it like Faces or something. I forget exactly what it's called, but it is basically a book just all about the history of makeup, pretty much, and it talks about what people use in certain decades and centuries. It's very informative and very educational. As more into like the freelance business entrepreneurial side, one that I always suggest is Diana Schmidtke. She wrote a book called Shortcuts. So if you just type in Google Diana Schmidtke shortcuts, or put Shortcuts by Diana, it'll pop right up. And it's just a book all about how to be a freelance makeup artist. That book saved my life. I read it every single day before I moved out here, and I brought it around with me every single day, everywhere I went, for about a year after moving here. And it was almost just like the energy of the book or something always brought inspiration to always be doing something to push myself as a makeup artist. There's a ton of information on how to write out your resume, how to pack your kit, all the, let's see, what else? How to go get agencies to look at you, how to like approach them. There's a little bit of information on the union. The thing about the union is you can't technically publicize anything about union and how to get in, because just because it changes so much, they don't want to, I don't know, they don't want that type of thing to be out there and then 2 months later something changes and then there's the whole thing. So there's a tiny bit of information on the union, a lot of stuff about men's grooming, a lot of stuff about hairstyling. There's just a lot of information that is very valuable in that book. And it's very, she's very transparent about it all, I'll put it that way. She actually is a men's groomer, an incredible men's groomer. Her client list is outrageous. It really is. It's like George Clooney, Ryan Gosling. She works very closely with Vin Diesel and Jon Hamm. She did pretty much every single Twilight press tour around the entire world, every single year that it came out. And I mean, I don't even want to know how much she's making. I know she disclosed in the book at that time, that was back in 2008, I believe that it launched, that her day rate, I'm pretty sure she mentioned was that $7,000 a day. And that's just for men's grooming. She actually is on, I don't think that this has changed. She's on the team for Paul Mitchell for their men's line. So she's a really great person. You guys should check her out either way, regardless if you buy her book or not. Keely says, I'm just going to take a moment to go through the chat. Keely says, I mean, why even go to Barnes & Noble if you're not going to buy a book? Exactly. Although I will say, Keely, Kenneth and I go to Barnes & Noble. They have like this little cafe area on the one that we're by, and we just kind of like study there. I do a lot of my business work with like what it takes there, and plan out things. And sometimes I'll just pick a book from the shelf and start reading it. I don't know. Is that weird? But anyways, so yeah, those are some books. And then another book that you guys probably know of fairly well is Crystal Wright's book. She just actually launched the newest edition, which I really want personally because I have one of her older editions. And it's really great. It's extremely informative. So Diana's is informative and very inspiring, and more of a like, this is my personal experience and what I can tell you to do and what not to do, where Crystal Wright used to have her own agency and was an agent. So she comes from the agency standpoint of like, this is what's going to work for you and this is not like what's not going to work for you. And because she comes from the agency side, so she doesn't have the personal experience of being a makeup artist, just kind of like the outsider's point of view, she interviews makeup artists and hairstylists and fashion designers. So you kind of get a really well-rounded idea of these types of things. So she goes into great detail about agency work, obviously, and how to get jobs, how to approach in the most professional and the proper way of, you know, getting work for commercials, music videos, films, things like that. It's very more technical rather than like experiential, if that makes sense. And experiential, what I mean by that is like, this is my experience, and it's like a memoir almost, whereas Crystal Wright is like a guidebook. And I'm pretty sure she has a lot of stuff for you to like fill in, which I always love that kind of stuff. So that's just personal preference. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah. So other resources, Makeup Artist Magazine, and the newly launched, I believe it was like a year or two ago now, which is Prosthetics Magazine. Those are really great resources that I'm sure every single one of you already are a part of, but I wanted to make sure that I noted because I remember when I first started in the makeup world, I was like obsessed with Makeup Artist Magazine, and that's such a great tool for every single person to have in their career, no matter what stage you're at. What else? What other resources? So other resources that you can utilize is the internet, of course. But the thing about the internet, you just want to be kind of careful. Just because sometimes there's wrong information and things like that. I am 100% a YouTube fan. I go to YouTube for inspiration. Sometimes if I'm like, oh, I want to see how else other people are doing this application, I'll go to YouTube. So there's definitely that you can utilize, but sometimes I've come across things that are very bad, like cutting up a piece of an aluminum can and putting it on your face. Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. That is a huge hazard. So on anybody's face. So anyways, that's pretty much it for resources. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's one other thing for resources is the people. So utilize the people in the industry. You know, you can email or Facebook message or direct message anybody nowadays. Now, it's kind of a 50-50 on who's actually going to respond, but you have nothing to lose. If you have a question about how somebody did something in, I don't know, a movie, you can message that person. Or, you know, if you really liked Chanel's newest ad campaign, you can find that makeup artist by doing some sort of like Google search and message that person. Now, it's hard. It's very hard to get personal email addresses nowadays, but you can contact people like anywhere at any time now through social media. And I've done it plenty of times. To be honest, that's how I got Joel Harlow to be a part of my documentary. He actually came across a blog that I wrote and he commented on it. And I personally messaged him. Same thing with Michael Key. I was like, you know what? I don't have Michael Key's email address. Michael Key is the creator of Makeup Artist Magazine. And I just direct messaged him. And he was more than happy to send me back a message and say, absolutely, I would love to be a part of your documentary. So don't be afraid to message people in that way. You know, in a way, like, you know, some people might tell you it's very unprofessional, but, you know, if you go about it in a very professional way, you're just, you know, putting yourself out there. You're just trying to reach out to the people that you look up to and, you know, utilize your resources. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a moment to just take a drink of water, if you guys don't mind. Let's see. All this talking is making me parched. Okay, moving on to number 3 is practice. So the third way to stand out is practice. And here's the thing. Not very many people do it. I would say I don't really practice as much as I probably should. I mean, I still work a lot. So like I said at the beginning of this workshop, a lot of my work is commercial and ad campaign. And so I'm always doing very natural makeup. So technically, I've practiced that makeup a million times. Now, with special effects, that is something that I need to be way more diligent about with practicing the special effects. So just going on off of that note, not very many people practice nowadays. At the beginning of your career, when you have the time, you need to be practicing. And to be honest, when I first started, I had as much time in the world as you could possibly have, and I was practicing. I was practicing on people that would stay late after school because, like, we were like, oh yeah, do you want to practice? Like, whatever. And I was always practicing, and that was when I had more time. So when you have the time, practice. It will help your confidence. It'll boost your confidence. And here's the thing. It's going to show you your strengths and your weaknesses. Because when you know your strengths and your weaknesses, you know what to practice and you know what to work on. But you also realize what you can and what you cannot do. And that is more valuable, in my opinion, than trying to do everything. Because, for instance, if I were to be called, which I just got a call the other day, to do an alien and a whole body thing, like a whole body sculpt or whatever they call it. See, I don't even know the terms. And I don't know how to do that. And there are people in the industry, and this is all matter of opinion. So definitely don't take what I'm saying and say, oh, Amber said this. It's not like that. This is my personal opinion. There are some people in the industry that will say, learn everything, do everything so that you can be as well-rounded and as hireable as possible. I agree with that to a very certain degree. There's definitely a line that I think can be crossed. And if I would have said yes to that job, I wouldn't have known what to do. And I probably would have just handed it to Kenneth anyways, which I ended up doing. But I know where my strengths and where my weaknesses are. And I don't do what I'm not good at. And if there is any chance that I'm like, oh, that's not really something that I know how to do, but I could ask so-and-so how to do it. And if I feel comfortable enough that if I learned how to do it, then I can do it, I'll go for it. But I think it's more valuable to say no when you know you can't do something than to say yes when you don't know if you could do it. Because if you show up to a job, like, hold on, my voice is starting to go out. If you show up to a job and you don't do what you said you could do, so say for instance, this person was like, hey Amber, we need an alien. I'm like, yeah, sure, I can do it. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I gonna do? I have no idea how to do it. Oh my God. And I scrounge around, figure it out, and then I realize like I don't have any of the utensils, any of the materials that I would need, and I don't have any of the knowledge. And I come to set and I'm like, I think this will work. And then it doesn't work. Then that person will never, ever hire me again. And they will think that I lied to them, or they think that I'm just completely incapable, which technically I would have been. But you get what I'm saying. When you practice and you figure out what you're good at and what you're not good at, you will know where to draw that line on certain jobs, and you'll save yourself from people never hiring you again, and also telling other people not to hire you because of the bad experience that they had. Words speak 1,000, I don't know what the saying is, but basically word of mouth is a huge, huge thing. I mean, if you talk to anybody in marketing, that is like the #1 way to market is word of mouth. So if somebody is telling other people in the industry that you aren't following through what you say you can do, it's not going to do anything good for your career. And that is something that I've learned from my own experience, and also other people saying that they can do something and they can't. So now, obviously, if you're a part of a team or something like that, and somebody hires you, they might have faith that they can teach you something. That's something different. But I'm saying, like, if you are the one being hired and it's you that it's falling back on, just be wary of that. So another thing that I want to go over as far as practicing goes is actually Joel Harlow, in an interview for Makeup Artist Magazine, said that he always knows just by looking at somebody's portfolio that they practice. And the reason why is because their portfolio showcases more than just either photos from school or photos from set. And that interview has always stood out in my mind because I was like, wow, that's like a really powerful thing. Like that makes sense. And he always will hire somebody that, you know, their work is like okay, but they're consistently doing stuff at home and learning things and practicing. And he says he'll always hire those people over somebody that has like pretty good work, but they're only doing it when they have to, because in his mind, the person that's practicing is the one that's passionate and the one that is willing to learn and finesse their skills. So he sees the value in that more than the value of somebody that's just working when they need to work. So I thought that was really something cool that he said in that that magazine. There's a couple things going on in the chat, so hold on. I know a lot of people that actually miss the days when people wouldn't be afraid to message them. I know, really though. And even there's been people that have messaged me and then I never hear from them again. If you ever meet somebody at a convention or a networking event or something of that sort, even in like the grocery store, and it's somebody that you admire or you like their work or you genuinely want to work with them, and they say, here's my card, here's my email, get a hold of me or stay in touch. Trust me when I say, nowadays when somebody gives you your email, it's almost as if they're giving you their personal mailing address, like, here, come to my house. It's obviously not that, but email is like a very personal thing now. If you think about it, it's kind of odd. It's almost like giving your phone number. You don't give your phone number to just anybody. When they do that, they're inviting you to kind of like, they're telling you, yeah, you can bug me. I like you. I like your vibe. Here's my email. You can reach me at that. And in that particular moment, they're saying like, keep in touch, you know? So that was actually something that I did with Kerry Ayers. I met him at IMATS in 2013, and he told me, email me. Like, I really dig, you know, what you're wanting to do in this industry, and I I get where you're coming from. I want to help you. Like, email me. And I emailed him every other week. And he's gotten me jobs. I got to work with Steve Johnson because of him. He introduced me to Aaron Kruger McCash. I mean, that man, like, brought me to so many amazing opportunities, and it was because I kept bugging him. And he saw that I was very passionate, and I wasn't just a person that was like, I'm going to email you, and if you, like, maybe if you email me back, like, no. And then you never hear from that person again. Because it's like out of sight, out of mind. You have to bug these people. Okay, another thing, I want to get more into beauty makeup, but I need to know how to do it on myself first, and I don't know what my color is, and I can't afford to be wrong right now in my life. So Shanna, actually, if you, let's see, I'm trying to think of like affordable ways so that, here's a great way. Shanna, I don't know if you're by like an Ulta or a Sephora or anything like that, but or like a Macy's or something, you can get free samples. Just go to Sephora and, you know, check out some brands and say, hey, can you match me? And maybe get 1 or 2 colors and just get some from different lines. And, you know, I think that it's great for you to practice on yourself. That's what Sarah Tano does. She said it in her interview when we interviewed her for What It Takes. She said, like, you know, if I'm feeling a really cool idea, like, she'll practice the makeup on herself before she does it on Lady Gaga. So the only thing to be mindful of is don't get too used to your own face shape, just because sometimes it you know, like everybody's face is different. My face is different than Sarah Tano's. So like the way I would do a wing liner on my eye is definitely not the way I would do it on Sarah Tano. So just be mindful of that. But it's a really great starting point. Definitely practice on yourself. And if you have any like friends or family that you could also practice on, definitely do that. Okay, so another way that you can practice is just practice on yourself. Like Shanna was saying, practice on yourself. I mean, if there's a point in time where you're not working, practice on yourself. Do really cool things. Look at, you know, these, look at Pinterest or Instagram or YouTube or, you know, your favorite people and their work, and practice those looks on yourself. Obviously, doing prosthetics on yourself might be a little hard. People do it, but it's, you know, that definitely becomes expensive to do. But you can practice on yourself. That's free. You know, you don't have to like invite somebody over and make a whole deal out of it and all this stuff, right? Another way too is something that I learned on a fashion show way back at the very beginning of my makeup career, is practicing eyeliner. That's like the #1 thing, and it's still a little intimidating. And I don't know if you guys agree with me, but it's very intimidating. Eyeliner is just like, because there's so many different eye shapes, there's so many different, you know, not only eye shapes, but just like ways that the eyes fold and things like that. And I did a fashion show where it was a cat eyeliner. I was terrified, but there were, I want to say it was like between 20 and 30 girls that I had to do this eyeliner on. By the like 6th one, I was like, all right, I got this down. Boom, 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 boom. And, you know, granted, models have very ideal face shapes and faces to work on. Every single person still had a different eye shape. So I was still learning the different ways. It really opened my eyes to like just practice. And in previous makeup challenges that I've conducted, I always suggest you practice something like that at least 5 times consecutively in a row, because you'll see the progression like almost immediately. Like within the first 3 times that you practice that, you'll see how much of a difference it is, and at least 5 times. You can't just practice something twice or 3 times, because you're not going to see that much of a progression. When you do it at least 5 times, it's a completely, you just get a much better experience of how it's flowing. Every single time you get better, you get better, you get better, you get better. Now, obviously, in my situation, I did it like 20 or 30 times. It was crazy. But I think you guys get the idea. Practicing something like that is essential. Yeah, like I said, that's what I did in the makeup challenge. Actually, I think I did 2 makeup challenges, and I always get really great feedback from the artists that are a part of that challenge, because they always find out like different ways of doing things within that those 5 attempts. It's pretty cool. So definitely try that out. Whether it's a eyeliner or if you need to practice lips, that's something that's really big in the industry. People are really intimidated by doing bold lips. Like if I were to go up to 10 makeup artists and say, here's a makeup brush, do a really bold red lip. It can be intimidating because sometimes if you're a little wobbly, that wobbliness shows. It takes practice to get those really crisp lines and to get that shape perfect. I feel like eyeliner and lips are like the #1 thing that I get people that say the most, that they're intimidated by the most. And then, in the effects world, doing the shadowing and the kind of highlighting, that's something to really get used to. And going heavier, that's something I need to get used to, and I'm still struggling with, is being a very natural beauty makeup artist. That's like what I always do. I don't really do the whole highlight and shadow stuff. So when it comes to the more bold special effects, I'm always very hesitant to go really bold with, the shadowing and kind of creating different structure and stuff like that, because I have such a light hand. So that's something, you could, I could work on. I could practice more, right? And also, entering challenges, that's a great way to practice as well. We have a makeup challenge that's going on right now. You guys could enter, and it's Star Wars themed. It's going to be really fun. We just did a photo shoot for that specifically. And I was able to kind of practice my avant-garde stuff that I've been wanting to do for that photo shoot. So kind of going out of your comfort zone, practice the things that you want to do more of, or that you need to practice on, with the whole strengths and weaknesses. And that will help you stand out as a makeup artist. The people that are consistently challenging themselves, they're the ones that stand out. They always stand out. And I can speak from my personal experiences just by observing people on the internet, right? Okay, so moving on to #4. I'm going to take a drink really quick. Oh, nice, Jenna. Yeah, definitely get your boss to take you on a Sephora trip, for sure. Go all out, too. Ask for as many samples as you want. They don't care. Sephora people, as far as what I've experienced, it's always really helpful. And they always are willing to give you tons and tons of free samples. That's how I get my fragrances. I get my fragrances from there. Okay. #4 is your station. Now, this is something that I feel like is overlooked. This is what I was talking about in the emails. This is one of the small details yet overlooked ways to stand out. And I chose this as the 4th one because there is one artist in particular. Her name is Alana, and she has such a specific station setup, and I will never forget her for it. She's a very girly, she loves glitter, she loves pink, and her whole station is kind of based around that. Going back to your personality and your style, she has it down. I will never forget her for that. It's so clean. It's so apparent of who she is with her makeup station. And I love that about her. So first things first, your sanitation with your station, from the people that sit in your chair to the directors, to the photographers, the fashion designers, whoever you're working with, they will notice your sanitation. So do you have a placemat? Do you have at least a towel? Do you have everything organized, nicely? Or your brushes clean? Hopefully they are. They better be. is your actual makeup itself clean? Is there like nastiness on it? Now that's something that you should do frequently, is kind of deep clean things. I take time to spray my palettes, like the top of my palette, so because they get dusty and stuff like that from being kind of shook around and all that good stuff. So I'll spray like the tops, I'll spray the inner, just to make it more presentable. Because here's the thing, you guys. We can't, unless you're OCD, we can't always things happen with powders, things happen with eyeshadows and things like that, it over time, it just happens, not age, but when you have things for a certain amount of time, it just happens. It's okay. So sanitation obviously is the first and foremost thing that you want to have as like a priority. And then kind of the setup of your station, you want it to be presentable. I will say this is a personal preference, and I'm not saying that this is bad, but I do feel like when you have a ton of products, it does become overwhelming. I've been in the chair one time, and I've seen, people that just have so much makeup, and it's like, whoa. I mean, it's great that you have all of the options in the world, but what I personally do is if I bring... a lot of the times I know exactly what I'm doing on a shoot, and so I do bring what I need with some extra stuff. But if I'm, a part of a shoot that I'm like, who knows, I'll bring everything, which happens, it definitely happens. And so I'll bring everything, but I won't set everything out because it does become overwhelming, and it also takes up a lot of space. And then you kind of, for me anyways, I'm like, wait a second, where did I put that? Because like everything is everywhere. So just a side note, that's just a personal opinion. You can do whatever you want. So that was just a side note. Some other little things that, especially when you're getting into personal clients or feature films, or something that you're going to be on for several days at a time, the actual ambiance of your station. So having music. Let me see if I have it. This little thing. This is like a little sound box thing. So it's just like a Bluetooth thing, so you can connect your phone or your iPod to like a Bluetooth thing and play music that everybody is down to listen to. Always ask what people want to listen to, but you have to ask, because there are definitely, especially actors, that are particular about what they're listening to and the environment that they're in before they start a particular scene or something. So for instance, when I was working with David Dastmalchian, you guys probably have seen him. He's a very familiar face in the movie world. When we worked on Animals together, every single day for, I think it was like 30 days, I would have a chat with him. Okay, so this is what we're doing today. What do you want to listen to? And he always chose a station from Pandora that was in that mood that he was supposed to be in for that particular scene that we started with. Or he just would say, don't worry about it, I'll put my own earphones in. And sometimes I would put my own earphones in because it was just clear to me that he wanted his space. I'm not going to talk to him, and I'm going to listen to my own thing. So music always sets the mood, and it can definitely, you want to be mindful of what you're playing and who is listening to it and all that kind of stuff. Some people put flowers on their station. I think that's a really nice touch. People always remember you by that. And even candles. I was just a part of an ad campaign and a TV show that they, in the makeup, the makeup trailer, they had candles going. And that was something that before they started the day, they asked this person that were in the trailer, hey, do you mind if we put a candle on? Because fragrances, people can get a little iffy about fragrances, but everybody was cool with the fragrance that that particular department had. So all of those, so candles, flowers, music, I suggest when you're doing something on your own, whether that's like a one-on-one personal client, or if you're department heading something, or if you're just the key makeup artist. If you are a part of a team, the way that like I just gave you the example of with that particular department head, they are usually the ones that kind of set that already. You could bring a flower, like, a little tiny like flower setup, and that is totally up to you. But as far as like candles and music goes, you definitely want to get the permission from the head of your department first before you kind of just like stroll on in with something like that. So yeah, that is number 4 as far as your station goes. People really appreciate well-presented stations. Like I said, that girl Ilana, her station will always stand out in my mind. So, you can use that as a way for people to remember you. And like in the bridal world, you can really go out with something like that. Bring like white roses, make it a whole like white, pretty, sparkly, glittery theme or something like that. You can really make people remember you by things like that. So moving on to number 5, accepting the competition. And this is actually my personal, my secret that I have found is one that is very, very, very helpful in standing out. Accepting the competition. So it's obvious. It's just going to happen. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot. However, with that being said, the rate of people that are staying in this industry, there's a lot of people that figure out that it is very hard. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of us. There's a lot of competition, and they just drop out. So regardless of that, just accept the fact that there's going to be competition and accept it in a positive way. Don't see it as like, oh, there's so many people. There's so many people in this industry. I don't know what I'm going to do. Obviously, that's a valid feeling. There are a lot of us. I get it. It can be scary. It can be discouraging, and I feel for you. However, you have to switch your mindset and understand that not only is our industry growing, and there's a ton of us, there's also everything else is growing in this world too. So the TV world is growing, specifically in the new media. Commercials are growing. Technically, the fashion world, as far as like fashion designers, there's new fashion designers all the time that are needing makeup artists for fashion shows. Now, they're not on the scale of New York Fashion Week or, Paris Fashion Week or whatever, but there are a lot more people kind of doing their own thing. I was just a part of a team under my really awesome friend Gladys, who she brought me on to do a fashion show for a charity event down in Newport Beach. There's things like that all over. Like, don't limit yourself to just these big, crazy, not crazy, but really, really big things. And don't just because you're not doing New York Fashion Week, think that you're not good enough or something like that. Don't ever tell that to yourself, because there's tons of other things besides just the really, really big things. So everything is growing. Especially, new businesses are coming out every single day, so they need makeup artists for their press events. They need makeup artists for their commercials, for their ad campaigns, for their social medias. Like, everybody's needing makeup artists. Brides will always be around. People get married all the time, and it will never stop. So my point in all this is that there will always be a job for you. If you, go for a job and you don't get it, that's okay. Move on to the next one. Don't let it get you down. I know that there is definitely a lot of jobs that we go for and we're like, I really, really want it. And then we don't get it, and it's discouraging. And there's been a part of my life where I was just like, man, I really wanted that job, and I wanted this job, and I wanted this job, and I just didn't get it. So what am I doing wrong? But the thing is that it's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong. It's just that, it wasn't the right timing, or it just wasn't the right fit for you. Going back to the whole personality that, they just didn't mesh for you. And another thing too is there is a whole psychology to it. When you are kind of bogging yourself down, bringing yourself down, saying like, oh, I'm not going to get the work because everybody else is getting the work except for me, and all this stuff, you're actually not allowing yourself to do what you're truly capable of doing. And what I mean by that is psychology. Like if we're looking at it like a scientific, psychological way, you're crushing your confidence to the point where you, whether you're aware of it or not, you're not pushing yourself to the fullest of your capabilities. You're not going above and beyond to get the other jobs that are out there. You know, if you want to do this one particular job or these 5 particular jobs and you didn't get them, there's like thousands of other jobs that you could still go for, and you could get those other jobs as well. Like I said, you will find who you work well with, and in that journey, like you're gonna find a lot of people that you don't work well with, and you're gonna figure out that there's people that won't hire you for the same reasons of, you know, you guys, it wasn't right fit, it wasn't the right timing, you know, things like that. There's all these reasons that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you as an artist, or if you were capable of doing the job, or if you were worthy of the job. All of these things. Don't ever let the competition get to you. Here's the thing, what you are capable of doing is getting a job. Every one of you is capable of getting a job. It's just a matter of what you're willing to do to push yourself to get the other jobs. You know, don't define yourself by any one job. Don't define yourself by, my hair is doing something weird. Don't define yourself by whether or not you're going to get this other job, or if there's 1,000 more makeup artists that are competing for the same job. There's going to be a perfect job for you, and everybody's journey is the same. I'm actually going to tell you guys a really cool story that Abraham Hicks explains. And this was something that when I heard it, I was like, wow, that's really powerful. If you are, say, in Florida, just say, and I'm just giving this as a random example. If you're in Florida and you're trying to get to Arizona, we'll say Phoenix, Arizona. No matter what, wherever you're starting from, there is an end point. There are a lot of ways to get from that particular part, we'll say Orlando to Phoenix. There's a lot of ways, a lot of routes that you can take to get to Phoenix from Orlando. You're, you know, depending on what time of day you leave, you might hit traffic on certain areas of the countries, or like the states or the cities that you're going to be driving through. You have the ability 100% of the time to go back and start over again, and that destination is still going to be there. You know, you might come to a complete standstill in traffic, but at the same time, that end destination is always going to be there. You can take a detour, you can go around, you can go the fast way, you can go the slow way. If you want to take the scenic route, no matter what route you take, you will get there. And everybody will probably take a different route. So just remember that we are all on our different paths, we're all on our different journeys, and even though that there's a lot of us, we each individually have our own journeys, and don't let the competition define you, because that's the first thing that's, you know, will kind of bring you down, is focusing on the negative aspect that you can't get a job because there's like people are competitive, or not people are competitive, but that there's competition. Okay. Another thing too is when you befriend other makeup artists, they're gonna, I can't emphasize this enough. Like, I've had so many makeup artists that I have had so many makeup artists that I've become friends with, I've grown relationships with, that have given me jobs, just like Kerry Ayers did when I met him back, you know, in 2013. He's given me a lot of work. I've, you know, met makeup artists on other jobs. There's actually a particular girl that continues to give me, I think I worked with her back in March, and since March she's given me 5 jobs of like very decent paying work. And it's because she and I worked well together, we connected, we both spoke about the fact that we don't see each other like every other makeup artist as competition, because there's jobs for every one of us. And you never want to look at other makeup artists as the enemy. That's just it. You know, that is me personally, my secret. I don't look at anybody else as my enemy. There was a girl I worked with that I thought hated me, and then we ended up being really cool with each other. Now, I never saw her as an enemy of like, I hope she doesn't get the job, or, oh, she's going to get the job over me. Like, she's so much better than me. I never saw it that way. I just assumed she didn't like me because, I don't know. I think I saw her one time at IMS and she wasn't like, she didn't really talk to me. So that's just besides the point. But, you know, befriend everybody. People in my class. I've given plenty of jobs to people in my class. I've given jobs to other makeup artists that I've worked with. I've given jobs to other makeup artists that have assisted me. I've given jobs to people that are part of this platform. Like, we all, you know, there's going to be a point in time where people get busy. They can't do every single job. And they're going to pass work on to you. So never look at everybody as like the enemy. We're all in it together. And as cheesy as that sounds, we all, you know, we all end up kind of working together in these weird waves. So make friends with other makeup artists. Don't look at them as competition. So those are the 5 ways to stand out. And as I promised, there's 3 bonuses that I want to go over. I know it's almost to the hour-and-a-half mark, so I don't want to take too much of your guys' day. So I'll go through this pretty fast. All right, so bonus number 1 of 3 is persistence. So I was talking about earlier emailing people, messaging them, and things like that. The one thing that will set you apart from the majority of artists is persistence. I've gotten, you know, and this is, I'm just explaining this as personal experience because that's all I can really give you. I've gotten emails from makeup artists when, you know, I've gone to MUD and either taught classes there or did a guest speaking event or an event just in general. And I've gotten people that have emailed me and said, I would love to work with you. And I would say out of like the 10 people that over the time of like the past 4 years say, there's only been 2 that actually stay in contact. Those 2 people, I give a lot of work to. So persistency will help you stand out because there's a lot of people that will go for something and then just stop. They stop pursuing it or they stop being persistent about it. And it just, you know, whether you're getting busy, there's obviously reasons why that, you know, you might stop contacting people or whatever. But especially at the beginning of your career, you want to just like constantly contact people. I still do this. When I have times where I'm like having anywhere between more than a week and a half to like 3 weeks of nothing, I'll start contacting all of my past clients, all of my past directors, producers, photographers that I've worked with. Hey, I'm available for the next 3 weeks. Hey, I'm available for the next 3 weeks. And I will, you know, give them all the information of like, hey, this is what I worked on lately, whatever. So that you got to stay in contact with people because, as I said before, out of sight, out of mind. You have to be memorable in that sense. I was just on a call with Crystal Wright, and I'm personally trying to pursue getting agency represented, and a particular agency that I've been in contact with that I have been on their assistance roster for a very long time. I 2 years ago was told, hey, like you need just more diversity in your portfolio. So contact us when you have more of that. Well, I started getting booked more and like more of the commercial stuff. And so I hadn't been doing as many photo shoots. So I didn't contact them for 2 years. And when I told Crystal that, she's like, why haven't you contacted them? Like, no matter what you're doing, commercial work, whatever, they just need to know that you're working. Contact them every single month, if not twice a month. So, you know, I was kind of kicking myself in the butt for doing that. Like I wasn't doing what I typically do, which is staying in touch with people on a consistent basis. So, you know, you got to stay in people's mind. And that it's all about visibility at that point. Keely asks, do you find business cards to be useful? I do. I am the number one person that is terrible about this. I haven't created business cards for a very long time, but I've been asked for business cards so many times. Do yourself a favor and get business cards because there's been a lot of times where I haven't been able to give my information as far as that goes because of that. So usually if it's somebody that's very serious about an inquiry about, hiring me, I'll be like, I don't have business cards, but like, here, let me give you my information. Sometimes they contact me, sometimes they don't. But I do believe that if they had a physical business card, it probably would work way more to my benefit. So yes, business cards are very useful, very helpful. If you're in the bridal world, I would suggest getting more of the postcard size cards. I forget what they call them. I'm totally spacing on the name of it, but it actually gives you more space so you can put your information and stuff like that on the front, and then on the back, putting kind of like a cute layout of some of your best work with brides. And that, in my opinion, for the bridal aspect, for the bridal world, helps significantly more than a business card, because people actually have a physical, tangible copy of your work. And when they tell people about it, like, oh, look at this person's work, it's not like, oh yeah, it's so-and-so, her website is, and then they have to, it's just another step. So for bridal work, I would say that is really great. You could use it for fashion work and for film work. Personally, I don't like putting that, like, unless it's like really, really, really amazing work, like American Horror Story style photography for special effects. I don't know. I've seen some business cards and some like bigger cards where they have special effects, and it's just like, you have to have the right photography for something like that. So that's why I say specifically bridal. But that's just a personal opinion. You can do whatever you want. Number 2 bonus is continuing education. So going to conventions, going to things like this, workshops, whether it's free or paid, investing in yourself, and whether that's you paying out of pocket to learn more about your craft or paying with your time is incredibly valuable. And you will, like I said, the more you know, the more you grow. You will always set yourself apart from everybody else when you are always investing in yourself with continuing education. The books, obviously, and the magazines and stuff like that are really, really great resources, but I'm saying investing in yourself as far as education, like going to things, being a part of something where you're learning about whatever you are currently trying to learn. So continuing education. And the last bonus is wellness and self-care. So I want to talk about this because it is something that I have found nobody talks about, at least in what I've discovered. Nobody talks about mindness and wellness. So like mindfulness. As far as like self-care and getting in the right mindset and going back to investing in yourself, you want to know yourself. I've talked many times throughout this entire workshop about your confidence. Your confidence has to be great. You have to have, and obviously, like we all have our self-doubts and things that we're very self-conscious about or that we don't really have great confidence in. But here's the thing. The best thing that you can do for yourself is invest in yourself, which is what I was just saying, and really take care of yourself, by eating the right things, by, taking care of your body and your mind. It will change your life when you do that. And I've personally experienced this through the last 3 years of my life. When I started looking into the self-help stuff, the whole mindset stuff, law of attraction, if you're into that kind of stuff, it's changed my life. I can't even, my credit score has gone up significantly in the film and the What It Takes documentary. If you remember, if you've watched it, it says at the very end that my credit score, I think it was like 275 or 325 or something very low. And my credit score is like it's almost 700 now. So you know, and I really, I give the credit to my experience in the last 3 years of truly taking care of myself. What do I want to call it? Just my journey in the mindset area and actually investing in myself. Because at the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself, right? You are the person that needs to make the money. You are the person getting the jobs. Everything, comes down to you, and you have to be ready. You have to be confident, and you have to always stay inspired, because here's the thing, you guys, this industry is tough. I was just talking with somebody the other day that was like, man, I'm feeling really discouraged because this happened and this happened and this happened with these particular team members. And it was very rude things that were happening, very mean things within the department, and it happens. There are some crazy things that I've seen, crazy things that people have done to me that are just atrocious. And you have to have very thick skin. And so examples of how to take care of yourself for being more confident and having, a good feet to stand on is doing meditations, doing yoga, eating well. That's actually something that I've started to do lately is eating better, drinking more water. It all... When you know yourself really well, when your confidence slowly starts to rise, people may not they may not know that's what you're going through, but there's something about your body that exudes these energies and these vibrations that you are doing better, you're more confident in yourself, you know your self-worth, all of these things, and they are drawn to it. There's a psychology aspect to it. There's a spiritual aspect to it that I could totally go into, but I don't want to, go over too much on time. But it's life-changing. There are some books that you guys could read that, that have helped me. Let's see, Jack Canfield, The Success Principles. It's a really good one that I really enjoyed. And it basically it's a very big book, but it talks about all these ways that you can, these exercises, I guess, that you can do to kind of get yourself more motivated, to get better, like self-care and things like that. And it just helps with your confidence over time. And that's essentially what I'm trying to do with this platform, is incorporate all of that, incorporate education, motivation, and mindset all together, because it all matters. It literally is one of those triangles, like it's a whole balancing act. So yeah, and as far as health goes, being, healthy with your food and your body and things like that, just because there's going to be a lot of times, and I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this already, where the food is crappy, or you're not going to be eating for a long period of time. You're standing for a very long time, which I really suggest yoga for that. You're going to be hiking up mountains, regardless if you're in film or fashion. There's a lot of shoots on both industries that I've been a part of, where we're climbing up mountains and we're doing these crazy things, and you have to be physically prepared for those types of things. So those are the 3 bonuses that I have for you. And that basically concludes the workshop and all of the content that I had for you guys for today's workshop on how to stand out. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. And I hope that if you're watching the replay, that you, either message me or email me, info@whatitakesfilm.com, and tell me what your thoughts were. I always love hearing from you guys. Just some announcements for you guys. On this page, you can scroll down and there's a bunch of options for you to get more involved with our community. So join our Facebook group, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting ready to do a lot with that, and be a part of our email list, which most likely you already are. And there's also, if you haven't watched the film, you can either download it or rent it digitally, or you can purchase the physical copy. That is all below as well. And going, according to the theme of this workshop, standing out, you can be a part of our makeup challenge that is going on right now all the way through June 14th. So a little bit about that makeup challenge. It is themed Star Wars themed. We're really excited for this. The new Star Wars movie Solo just came out, so we thought it was appropriate to make it Star Wars themed. We just did a photo shoot a couple days ago that was inspired by the Ayla character. I forget specifically her name. Oh gosh, I completely forget her name, but she's like a blue character and she has these kind of like tentacle things. So I kind of took that as inspiration and did this kind of blue avant-garde beauty makeup. So photos of that will be posted soon. We did like a little behind the scenes of that earlier this week. And yeah, so the makeup challenge is going to be judged by Kat Passion and Nico Gonzalez. They, you guys know them from Face Off. And they also do a lot of work, commercials and TV and a lot of special effects. They have their own special effects shop, and they do the Universal Halloween Horror Nights and Grinchmas. So they do a lot of really amazing work. So yeah, and that's the details to enter, or just scroll down below. You can find out all of that information. And let's see, what else? Is there anything to know about the makeup challenge besides that? I don't think that there's anything else to know about that. Definitely follow us on our Instagram and our Facebook to get all of that information. We'll be posting quite a bit in the next few weeks on that. All right, so let's see. I don't think that there's any other questions. I know, Keely, I answered your question. Do you find business cards to be useful? I answered that question. Are there any other questions before I head out and conclude this workshop? There's a lot of people kind of in and out throughout the time. Like I said, it's Memorial Day weekend, so I figured that there'd be a lot of people just kind of in and out. Let's see. I'm going through the previous comments. All right, so I don't think that there's any other questions. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is log out and call it a day. Like I said, if you're watching this as a replay, please feel free to email me. Tell me what you thought about the workshop, if you liked it. If you guys have any requests on upcoming workshops, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you guys want to have more of in the future. All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.